like to kind of give us a little bit of an exercise just to charge up, ready for the talk about the building the pleasure body. And it's something that I saw Gitan do and experience, and I kind of tweaked it a bit. So I don't know how much you can move at the moment. You can do it sitting down, but I'm going to do it standing up, and hopefully you can see me. But it's kind of like flapping your wings, really. You just breathe in as you, and then breathe your hands to your heart, and intend that you're connecting your hands to your heart. Do that a few more times. Great. And then take your hands to your face. Feel your skin of your face through your hands. Feel the skin of your hands through your face. So self-touch, we've got the opportunity of twice as much, really, because we can receive and give at the same time. Oh, I wonder which, people tend to bias towards one or the other. You can feel your face more, or you can feel your hands more, or you can switch them, or maybe you can do it both at the same time. Really feel that connection between the hands and the face. That energy there might start to get a tingling sensation. It's so easy to tune into that. There's so much you can do with that energy. And spread it all around your body. Okay, so that was just a nice little exercise there, and that tiny bit of contact there, that energy connection, is something that we can really build upon, and we can, it could be called the tantric field. It's something that is what in shamanism is called the sexual soul force, and it is the transforming, it is the magical energy. So this is a little talk about building the pleasure body, and I've written it about 4 times. So I'm actually working on a book, and I was trying to think what would be the most relevant to breathwork facilitators, really. So I've got a couple of little exercises. I'm not going to talk too much to actually give you a somatic feeling of what I'm talking about, because it is the body that learns. The body is the subconscious mind, it is the learning mind. The more that we can bring things into the body, the quicker and the more that we learn. So when there's, in shamanism, there's a creation story that basically goes that there is a womb space of creation called Wakwan and Sesquan, the spark of creation, and they make love, and they produce the grandfather stars and grandmother planets, and they make love, and they produce the mineral and the animal and the plant and the human people, and this is going on all the time. There's this masculine and feminine principle that are dancing together and creating this beautiful energy. And I've wondered for a very long time how to access this as a resource, and gone through, it'll be 3 decades next year of working consciously in the transformation and growth field. And I'll just give you a little bit of a history, just a little bit of background there in a minute. But my main question here is, I've been journeying now with some very intensive breathwork practices since March last year. I did do breathwork practices before in other modalities, but with the conscious connected breathwork, I've found that I probably only had about 4 or 5 very pleasurable experiences, and most of them have been about, accessing emotions or pains or everything else that can happen in the breathwork. So I'm wondering why we don't access more pleasure memories. So it kind of led me on a train of thought that well, they actually get shut down quite a lot when we're children. You know, it's quite dangerous to emanate that energy, and you know, parents inherit a sort of rapid response kind of shut down mechanisms that can tell us not to emanate that energy, to feel that pleasure in our body, and that it's wrong and that it's shamed. And I want to do a nice little guided visualization, an exercise with you now to call upon those parts of us that might have got shut down, those parts that really felt the pleasure. So if you'd like to make yourself comfortable, this will take probably about 8 minutes. We'll begin. This is calling home the fragmented cells of pleasure. And it's inspired and adapted from Richard Swartz, who does the internal family system. So sit in a comfortable position. So I'd like you to find places in your body where you feel unsettled. And if you remember that first exercise that we did, where we really just charged up the hands and we became aware of that energy field, that of pleasure that we can have with our hands, just place them anywhere on your body. Use both hands. Perhaps it's a place where you feel unsettled, or a place where you carry tightness or stress. Maybe it's a place where you feel uncomfortable or anxious, or when something stressful happens. Maybe you tighten there. Maybe it's where your breathing goes shallow. Maybe this is the place that goes numb or shuts down, or feels stuck when someone gets too close. You may know this place, or you may not. Maybe it's where you hold your fear or your worry or your anger that originated with you, or as you've inherited through your body from your parents and grandparents. So place your hands on your body where you feel any of these things, using both hands. Whatever feels right for you, sense into your body and ask for where it needs your hands to go. Breathe into those areas that you've located. Send a big exhale deep into those places, as if you can penetrate them with your breath. Now we're going to use 2 small somatic hacks, 2 small tweaks to open up the north and south gateways of our bodies so that there is more space, more inner space available to you. The first small tweak is to let your tongue rest gently behind your lower front teeth. And breathe with your mouth gently open. When you breathe with your tongue gently resting on your lower front teeth, your jaw naturally relaxes and your throat releases. Take a few breaths noticing this happening through your open mouth, and breathe down into your belly. The most important thing is to keep your mouth gently open. The second small tweak is to soften behind your knees. When you relax the area behind your knees, your hamstrings and quadriceps naturally release and your pelvic floor opens. Imagine that you feel your pelvic floor softening just by relaxing behind the knees. Perhaps you can even feel your feet and your pelvic floor at the same time. See if you can keep your mouth open at the same time as softening behind your knees, keeping that north and south gate open. The tendency is to close one or the other. See if you can keep them open at the same time. Now let's go deeper and integrate the places in your body that may have split off or shut down or fragmented when you were small. These are the parts who were made to shut down and close off to pleasure as a felt sense in the body known as sexuality. Just by holding these places and breathing into these spaces, integration can happen. Even the very early in utero parts can be integrated in this way. Just keep breathing into these sensations of energy in your body. You can even integrate the fearful and anxious or angry parts of you that you inherited from your parents and grandparents this way. Just tell all of those fragmented parts, the parts that contracted and tightened or numbed or disassociated, the parts that are full of anxiety about feeling pleasure in the body. Just tell them, I've got you. I am with you, as you. I'll breathe with you always. I'll breathe with you until you feel safe enough to return fully into my body. Then we breathe together as one, almost like little birds returning to a tree. Tell them I've got this for you. Safety, security, soothing and pleasure. And I'll breathe with you until you feel it's safe. Tell them I'll hold you so you don't have to hold our body so tightly. Visualize holding and calming these places in your body with your breath and your presence. Tell them I'll breathe with you until we feel fully connected in our body to breathe together as one. As you breathe, notice any impulse on the inside that wants to release. Any yawning, any trembling, any shaking, any unwinding. Whatever is moving, just let it happen. Whatever is happening inside, just feel it. Keeping your breathing with your mouth slightly open and softening behind your knees and feeling your pelvis softening. Keep breathing with this until you can feel new sensations of energy in your body. Maybe feel your heart beating. Feel the warmth of your body. Maybe you feel energy pulsing in your body. You may become aware of the buzzing sensation or humming of all your systems working in sync. Grateful for your awareness and attention, encouraging optimum homeostasis. Maybe you even feel tingling in your body waters. Maybe you become aware of something opening inside of you, or spreading, or loosening, or softening even more. Whatever the energy sensation you feel, this is where you want to bring your focus. Hold the feeling, letting the energy flow freely. Warmth, tingling, softening, pulsing. Stay with it for about 60 seconds. Feel your whole body if you can, with life running through it, felt as a single field of energy. Feeling all those sensations at the same time. This signals to the amygdala, I got this. You no longer need to send out alarm signals to all the alarm towers of the body so that we shut down or numb out or leave or tighten. We don't have to fight, flight, freeze, especially when it comes to felt sense pleasure. We can just stay in our body and be with whatever sensations that arise. We can be with this felt sense of pleasure and hold and contain it within our energy field. And as it does, it transforms with life force energy, anything that comes from it or towards it, with every in-breath and out-breath. We can hold and contain this energy, and if the pleasure emanations we are experiencing become too much, or triggering, or uncomfortable for ourselves or others, we can dial it up or dial it down, according to what feels right for wherever we are or whoever we are with. Let's practice that now. So I will count from 1 to 10 to turn these sensations up. Feel the energy field expanding to about 3 feet away from your body, and then hold it there with invisible boundaries. Feel this energy expand and contain it within your auric field so you are permeated, saturated, and contained within this field of energy felt as pleasure. And I'll begin. 1, 2, dialing it up. 3, 4, becoming more aware of it radiating through you and extending out, expanding this pure life force energy. Remember to breathe. 5, 6, 7, going to maximum pleasure sensation now. Let's see if we can do it. 8, 9, 10, holding and containing that energy safely. It may take longer to get to maximum, to 10, that's okay. If you want to practice this, you can practice as often as you like, and it will become easier and stronger, and you may be able to hold it for longer and longer. Maybe even hold it for all the time that you want to. Now, this kind of potent energy may be felt by others around you, or you as too potent sometimes. So feel into it for what's right. So we can then dial it down, and we can dial it down by counting from 10 to 1. I want you to stop going with this count at a place, the number that feels good to you for where you want to be right now. But I'll count all the way down from 10 to 1. You just stop where you want to be. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, dialing down, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If this exercise calls you for more practice, practice it as often as you like. Once a day was recommended by Richard Swartz, opening the north and south gates, breathing into sensations, welcoming all parts, and dialing up the energy field and dialing it down. Those parts of you will feel more called to become one with you in your present as they come back to an energy field felt as pleasure. When you're ready, come back to the room, open your eyes. Hello. So why build a pleasure body? Well, I've been working, as I say, for nearly 30 years, and you focus so much on working with pain, and people want to come to you because they're in pain, and 30 years of doing that, and I was getting quite down about seeing so much pain in my working life, and so I think it's actually a great motivator also to really balance that and work with pleasure with the person. And it also attracts them to working with you more, and it attracts back the parts that you're trying to integrate more if we're working with pleasure. So I'll just show you this. This was shown to me by a teacher when I was on my psychosexual somatic therapy training, and he said, as we expand, we can expand into pleasure, but we're also expanding into pain as well. And if we're working with pain, we will expand into pleasure. And so, we're a fully rounded being. So we're used to, with breath work, going on that journey and perhaps breathing into something that's there. And it's actually quite surprisingly comfortable to go into the deepest, darkest places of pain, keeping connected with the breath. And eventually we might get to that place of love, which is great. But on that journey, what might happen is that either we ourselves or our clients might go over their emotional range of resilience or energetic range of resilience. So I'm sure you've all been studying now the emotional range or the energetic range of resilience. and how we can increase that range of resilience using pendulation and titration, quite simply swinging from a resource point into the activating energy, swinging back again. This can keep people within their range, or maybe they've just pushed it a little bit, and without doing that pendulation, if they go too far, they can't integrate that energy that's being moved. And I'm not going to call it release, because the only way that I see people integrating energy, and I can see energy, is that they still keep it contained within the energy field, and that way they're working through the spiritual, mental, emotional bodies to the physical body to integrate it into the physical body. They go too far, it goes beyond the energetic field of the person and their capacity to integrate that energy. So I've seen it quite often, that people kind of really go into emotionality and catharsis, and it can feel good at the time, but in the long run it's really not making a lot of difference, and it doesn't really create change. And it's one of the first things my teacher of sexual somatics said. It's really not about catharsis and release anymore. It's more about holding, containing, and transforming. So we've talked about increasing emotional, the range of resilience. How do we do that? Well, we are multi-aspect beings: the mental, emotional, physical, sexual, the spiritual. And what I do with my clients, and for being a mentor, we see 3 clients for at least 10 sessions, and so I've got to see this working really long term now. So I get them to build a resource list and name, the mental resources they've got, the emotional resources they can access, the spiritual, the physical, the sexual, and the community ones too, because it's very important for us when we are growing and expanding. It's very helpful to connect with our community. So so we build lists and resources, and this way I can ask them about their lists, which is something that we can refer to at the beginning of every session, about how they're using their resource list during the week. And it's very useful to have handy, because we do tend to forget what resources we've got when we're low. We fall into kind of what I call separate consciousness, and we forget what resources we've got. So it's a very good tool to have, to utilize when we're working with clients in the sessions, but incredibly and good reference points to see how well they're looking after themselves, and encourage that. And also it's a very good way to kind of build the pleasure body with them, because in all of our resources there is an element of pleasure to it, otherwise there wouldn't be a resource. So the more that we can access those resources on every level, the more we can build the pleasure body. So I find that it really accelerates healing. The biggest cure for pain is pleasure. So I'm getting rapid results by really working with the pleasure body as well. And there's been so much focus on the pain body, named by Eckhart Tolle, and I think we need to equally balance this focus now on the pleasure body. And I think the more that we build a pleasure body and hold that somatic experience of pleasure, the more pleasure we can manifest in and around us. And my ultimate ideal is to be able to continue to live on earth as it is heaven. And the more of us that do this, the more we can actually really create that heaven in us and around us, and our experience of that, and radiate it out to everybody else as a body of consciousness that really walks their talk. So it accelerates healing, accelerates integration. That's why I did that exercise with you. It's like, you know, shamans don't just dance ecstatically, go into other realms, but those soul parts really don't want to come back unless you're in a really good state. Yeah, they're not going to come back to somebody bawling and crying and like depressed. You know, they're sentient beings. And so I work with psychosynthesis, psychotherapy, the psychological split off parts of the psyche, but they have corresponding parts also, soul parts that can disappear off into the various shamanic dimensions. Yeah, they don't come back unless there's a good reason to come back, you know. And if you imagine like little children, they're not going to come back to somebody who's angry or miserable or whatever else, you know. They want to come back to somebody who really can give them a good time now in the present. So it really does accelerate the healing process and the integration process. And also, you know, I find for business, you know, the feedback that I'm getting and the clients I'm attracting are becoming, you know, who wants to do therapy? It's an incredibly hard thing to sell. And I know that over the last 30 years, you know, people don't come unless they really have tried everything else. And, you know, they'll go to the doctor and they'll try this, that, and the other. But if you're really, really creating this pleasure body consciously with them and actually giving them the autonomy, the enabling them, empowering them through their resources to do that for themselves, you know, word spreads. And in my experience, it is word of mouth that gets the business. You know, I've tried wasted all kinds of money, marketing and advertising over the years. And all my business comes via referral. I don't even have a website yet, you know. Yeah, so I've got enough to keep ticking over. I've got enough time to work on a book. There's a huge amount of material here regarding building the pleasure body. Don't know how much time I've got left. I've got about 8 minutes. Would you like to try another little pleasure exercise? Would you like to hear me talking more? Okay, right. Well, we'll do a quick one. All right. This is something that is really easy, you know, for you to get creative with your clients. It's just another example of like what's called a somatic anchor. So this one's about your favorite fruits, and it could be asking about your client's favorite fruit, so that they can imagine eating that fruit, and then whenever they do eat that fruit, they're actually taking, you know, more and more pleasure and anchoring it into the body. So we'll just quickly do that exercise. So I want you to give yourself, close your eyes. It just helps to focus a little bit more on, we're working with the senses here. So this is using texture and taste. So give yourself permission to feel even more fully and deeply. Do that now. Take 3 slow breaths and feel thanks for the air that keeps us alive, so that we can receive the gifts of this life. This exercise will take you into the experience of taste and texture. Bring your favorite fruit to mind and imagine it on a bowl in front of you. Give me a nod when you've done this. That's good. So begin to remember the taste, the smell, and the texture of this fruit. Begin to remember the happy times, the pleasurable times you've enjoyed it. In your mind's eye, reach out and take the delicious fruit. Very slowly. Now, this is a very important part of enjoying pleasure. You have to go slow. Bring it closer. And feel the anticipation of the enjoyment of putting it in your mouth. As it gets closer, you see it is perfectly ripe, just the way you like it. Full flesh of moisture and flavor. Bring the fruit to touch your lips and feel the first glorious sensations as you bring the fruit into your mouth. Slowly. Enjoy the flavors as they spread through your mouth, and this time the flavor begins spreading through your whole body, as if every part of your body is tasting the fruit. And allow your body to move a little, just as your tongue moves in your mouth. Feel the texture, the different smoothness, the juiciness, the crunchiness, the slipperiness, or the firmness. Feel how your tongue and mouth enjoy this experience. And if your body feels like moving, or breath feels like it wants to change, just let it. Feel how the energy of the fruit flows all through your mind and body, bringing health and vitality. Enjoy the aliveness it brings. Now swallow it down and reach for a glass of cool water to clean your palate. Enjoy the fresh feeling of the water throughout your mouth. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes. We've just got a few minutes left now, so did you all allow yourself to feel pleasure? Yes? Great. Good. Did you notice that your breathing changed or your body moved? Yeah. Yeah. And what sense was the strongest, did you notice? Visual, taste, or texture sensations? This might be your primary somatic access. Yeah. So, my name's Michelle Well. I'm